Hey guys, Zero here. Today I want to take a look at the Kazakhs versus Jayce top lane matchup, and a few notes that you'll want to have in mind if you ever find yourself in this position to give yourself better chances of winning this matchup. First off, let's go over the key abilities that, in terms of damage, will make the most impact on who ends up winning the fight. Obviously, for Kazakhs, it's going to be your passive and your isolation. If you are able to weave through the brush and get your passive over and over again, then it's going to be a lot more damage than normal. And same with isolation. If you don't have either of these things, then you have to either be ahead or really do well for the rest of the trade in terms of dodging abilities or him not having them up to be able to win that. As for him, his highest damage abilities are obviously his Shockwave and his To the Skies, which is his leap sort of thing. Those two will deal the most damage in the early game. Now, one thing to note is that in the early game, he actually does not have that high of sustained damage. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by that. This is a clip of me level 1 just taking a short trade with Jayce, and you'll see that he comes out worse for wear in terms of health. So we go ahead and take a look at this. He jumps on me. I use W auto attack. He gets, his Q auto attack. Doesn't get his Q off. I don't get any sort of what do you call it off? Q off because I don't have it yet. But with the W healing, with my passive, and with him not getting his ranged Q off on me, that means that before I took a couple more unnecessary auto attacks there, I actually had come out on top. Now there were a couple more things that I had messed up there that allowed him to get a little bit of an advantage there. I could have been spaced more towards the brush, maybe forced him to place a ward in order to be able to further the trade. I could have popped potions to give myself a little bit more health and pressure to hit level 2 first and have the pressure on him instead of me. But overall, you can see what I mean by, like, in terms of damage. If you've got your passive and your W up, the healing and damage from W actually is much more impactful overall than his abilities level 1. Um, so in that case, if Kha'Zix's damage is, equal to or greater than Jace's based off of isolation and, unseen threat, then, you know, why does it feel like he's so hard to beat? Well, the most crucial ability for him is his knockback. And that allows him to space. He goes into ranged form, he can kite you pretty much indefinitely. So that means that your ultimate at that point is a game changer. This allows you to poke back when he auto attacks or uses his Q, and the ult warps the fight and forces your passive to be up at least 2 extra times compared to what it would be. So you no longer need the brush to be there to be able to weave. And oftentimes the panic that the Jace will go through when a Kha'Zix gets on top of him and uses ult will make him walk back into isolation. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the correct order to do things is. And so this is the idea here is that when Jayce uses ultimate to go into ranged form, there is 6 more or less, depending on CDR. I don't know exactly what it is. 6 seconds where he is not able to use his knockback because he just transformed into range. He also has less damage because effectively all of his melee cooldowns are on cooldown because they're tied to his ultimate. So all he can do then is use his Q for a little bit of damage, use his W for also a little bit of damage, and use his E for a speed up. Now, at that point, you'll have your W and that'll slow. And so I want to go ahead and show you what exactly that looks like. So here I am teleporting in. I have just bought an item and Jayce just cleared the wave in his melee form. He transforms into ranged and immediately uses his E and Q. You can see that he's got 2 levels up on me. He's got Eclipse, so he should be better at fighting than me right now. He's by no means down in terms of anything here. you would think he'd win. But the thing is he's in isolation, and my ultimate's up and all that. So I jump in, flash, Q, auto, blah blah blah, and then at the end there he just comes back up with his ultimate. If he is right away, he might be able to win it. It's hard to say because if he is, then he's got to wait for his ultimate to come back up because obviously he just transferred him in a melee. He can't go ranged yet, so there's a pretty good chance that I would have been able to close the gap or just use my W to finish him off there. But in any case, you can see what I mean by having that isolation and having that passive reset, and him not having his knockback at the beginning of the fight means that I'm able to win the trade even when down by a good amount. So another thing that I want to show you is an instance where I actually mess up. And this is because as you'll see in a moment here, what I do is I'm waiting in the brush. Uh, this is fairly normal, but he turns in or into melee, and I instinctively think, okay, if I jump behind him, then he'll just knock me back this way. The trade will force to continue, and I can just walk at him and trade like that. Now he doesn't use his E initially, and so that allows for me to get a pretty good trade off before he does that. And by the time he does, enough time is wasted down for my flash to come up. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. I just trading here, and he finally uses it now. But at this point, once again, that panic has put him into isolation, just like the last clip, and that means that my Q will do extra damage. My flash is about up. What's he gonna do? My dub and you'll see here, flash Q, auto, W kills him. And even if it didn't, it forces him out of lane. So that's an instance where I messed up a little bit. He maybe could have gotten away if he just knocked back immediately and then ran because my jump isn't up and I didn't have flash up at the beginning of that. So that was me messing up there. Now, the last thing to consider in terms of this whole if he has knockback, did he just use his ultimate? Do I get passive resets, all that? The last thing to note is Prowler's Claw. This changes the dynamic a little bit. You don't need to always be concerned about him having his E down. So if we watch this, you'll see that I know that both of our flashes are down because we just used them in the prior exchange, which was the prior clip. And so when I go in on him here, he knocks me back, but it ends up not mattering. He also just uses Q there, so less damage. You can see he's in isolation, running away from the minion wave. That was his only possible chance of winning that trade, and he dies. So I hope that this helped you guys understand the Kazakhs versus Jayce matchup a little bit better, and a couple of things that increase your chances of winning the lane. Whether you're ahead, behind, whatever, these are the moments that you're looking for in order for an all-in to go through. One last thing to note is that if you were new to the Kazakhs versus Jayce matchup, I would recommend the Arcane Comet runes instead of the first strike runes. I believe in the first tab, that's what I had. The second tab. That's what I have for my setup. So if you take a look at that, it's Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcend. Is that Transcendence? Yeah. Gathering Storm. You can go Scourge as well if you really want to win the matchup, but Taste of Blood. Really, the main components are Arcane Comet, Taste of Blood, and Scourge are the three runes that give you the best chance of being able to trade, stay in lane, not get poked out, all that stuff. So until the next video, so long.